and hopefully that kicks on, which it does. Wonderful. Interesting. Okay, so I'm just gonna talk a little bit. This is more of a test than anything. I'm not actually doing a video right now. Interesting. Okay, so I'm just gonna talk a little bit. This is more of a test than anything. I'm not actually doing a video right now. I forget how awful this microphone sounds. Okay, so like how awful this thing actually sounds. I'm pretty sure there's a way. Was it voice mod that I used, or maybe it was voice mod? Hold on. I'm gonna change some shit here for a second, and we'll see if it works better. Because I had another microphone, and then I got a new desk, and now that microphone mount doesn't work, and so I can't use that microphone because it's not a headset. So I guess we'll pull this up, and then we'll just change the inputs around. So then hopefully, select your microphone. We're gonna do this one. Select your speaker. We're gonna do this one. That one. Wonderful. Sick. 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 All right. Holy shit. Check audio driver. Whoa. All right. Can't connect you to the voice mod servers. Please check your internet connection, which it is fine. So let's turn off the voice changer. Turn on hear myself. Then we're gonna go to settings, system input, system output, and then soundboard voice box. Like literally just want it to be clean. Like that's all. But I can't hear myself anymore. That's really frustrating. Weird. Soundboard, none. Stop sounds, voice lab, creator, settings. General. Oh, I can hear myself again. Alright, so now let's go to Streamlabs and then audio and microphone and change that to this one. And that should make my stream sound a little better. Let's see. So, like, that's all. Frustrating. Soundboard, so again, to Streamlabs and microphone and change that to this one. And that should make my stream sound a little better. Let's see. So, all right, it did work. Sick. And then as far as the resolution, 1440p. It is streaming, but the like bit rate is not doing too hot. Open widget. You need to change the video resolution is currently this, which is not supported for this configuration. Your expected resolution is 2560 by 1440, but the problem with that is that I lower the recommended bit rate. So yeah. Sorry for everybody that's kind of joining. I'm just changing a bunch of stuffs here. Just trying to get ready for this little thing I'm working on here. It says the stream health is poor, but I don't know if I necessarily believe that. Let's just see. streaming, but the like bit rate is. So yeah. Sorry for everybody that's kind of joining. I'm just changing a bunch of stuffs here. Just trying to get ready for this little thing I'm working on here. All right. Well, it says that it's not working, and I apologize if you can hear my chickens in the background. My window is open, and I am not going to close it. So let's do a couple of things here. So let's go back over to YouTube and pull up my actual page, and then we need to get rid of some stuff on here. We're also going to change some stuff, and we're going to go to oh my god, those chickens are going to get it. All right, so we need to go to videos, playlists, customize channel, manage videos. I haven't used YouTube. I haven't done anything like this in so long. All right, so we're gonna go to private for that, and then we're gonna go to private for that, and then oh my goodness, hold up, I'm gonna mute my desktop capture. God damn it! Hold on, how do I do this? We're in gameplay, microphone, webcam. I think let's shut that off because then I can watch this and you guys not hear my voice. This is gonna be just absolutely atrocious. Let's watch this really quick. Oh my goodness. Dude, I was a squeaker. Oh my god. Oh, did we? You need to answer this question. I'm not trying to do anything with this. I literally just want to watch it because I want to see how awful it was. Man, the good old days. Oh, shoot. All right, so now that we're here, I can close out of that. Actually, no, we'll leave this open. We'll stay in the YouTube studio because I want to change like everything. So these go refresh and they shouldn't be there. All right, wonderful. And then we're gonna go to customize channel again, and then we're gonna go to banner, and we're gonna go to change. And for the banner, let's do my Corvette. Yeah, that's perfect. I'll click done, and then we'll go to my profile picture, and we'll change it to a picture of my truck. Maybe this one. Maybe if it updates. This may take a second. Alright, that obviously did not work. Let's try again. Open. Oh, that's because it's too small of a file, or too big of a file. Let's try this one. Try adding a file that's formatting. How is that? Is that really that, like, whatever. Alright, I got this picture of my truck. No, it worked. Shit. Sweet. So we'll do that. And then name. I don't even know what to put my name to, but I kind of want it to be um I I have I have no I have no idea. Just gonna do Snow White 6.4 since that's my TikTok handle. And then we're gonna close that. And then holy shit, I have a Patreon? That's sick. I didn't know that. And then I guess we'll go publish. And we'll see what that does. I don't even know like how many subscribers I have. I need to go to my dashboard and check that. Then we'll go back and see if anybody's oh, changes published. Sick. Alright, dashboard. So 463 subscribers. And I've got if we go here, I was looking for a thumbnail there. So if we, oh my goodness. So at Snow White 6.4 videos, there we go. Sick. Man, I was just a little Granny's Basement kid, wasn't I? Very interesting. Very, very interesting. All right, so yeah, it keeps telling me to change my bit rate, but I think it's fine because the stream like is coming through like perfectly. Yeah, and there's very, very little mm, yeah, okay, I guess maybe that's not coming through as well as I thought it was. So let's go to output and then let's go to streaming and let's go to, that's the wrong one, video. Hotkeys output stream. You cannot change. All right, so I wonder if it's not allowing me. Oh, there's the bitrate. And what did it say the bitrate needs to be? 13.5. I don't even think my internet is that fast. I live in the ghetto, so there's like not many options for that. But that's okay. So I'm gonna end this one and then I'm gonna start up a new one. I'm gonna actually pull up a couple of things here before I get started, just so I have references. Take my boots off here because I am My feet are sore, my back's sore. I went to the bar last night. I had to work this morning. Uh, I, God damn, me and my buddies tore it up last night pretty good. Um, the Unplugged Alpha glossary. Um, it would be cool if, oh, key terms and concepts. Oh yeah, I guess I could just have ChatGPT do this, but hypergamy, male self-improvement, unplugging, chasing excellence, self-reliance, mission, looks, money, status, game. Let's see. I have a ChatGPT account. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna sign into that shit right now. Summary quotes, frequently asked questions, audio, cliff notes, the wall. Okay, I think this one might be it. Possibly. Um, it's definitely not the one. See, I only have the audiobook of this, so I don't have like a physical glossary that I can just read off or copy. Or I'm sorry, not copy, but um, you know, get up onto the stream if you know where I'm trying to get with that. Um, yeah, this is. Oh, there we go. Do I have chapstick in here? Hopefully, I do. Oh my goodness. I've got a Mucho Mango Arizona branded chapstick here. Fantastic. That tastes good. I do like that. All right. I think we're good to start. I really wish I had the glossary because it would help me help me conduct conduct my ideas a little bit better. But I guess this is okay. Um, let's see, instead of saying glossary, what are the key words and terms out of the unplugged? Helps if I spell that right. Unplugged Alpha by Richard Cooper. This might have been a better. Jesus Christ. 20 red flags. Book overview, the summary. Okay, we could click on this just to see, unless I already. Key takeaways. No. All right, sweet. Well, I'm gonna end the stream and restart it, and then this will be like the first thing. Looks like we're in good shape here. Get some audio going just to see if it's. Let me turn that down a hair, and maybe that'll help. Sorry, that was probably ear rape. I just moved my microphone a little bit. All right, so we'll go ahead and pause that, and then we'll close out of this, and we'll just kind of keep this open for the time being. Essentially, I just want to be able to see the comments and everything. That's not a huge deal, but let's get really up these two things. Is all I am really concerned about here. So, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, uh, children of all ages and races and ethnicities and such. Um, so this is something that I'm going to try out. It's a little bit new. I've never really been into the whole podcast thing. I I have started in about the past like 6 months started to read and listen to audiobooks about self-improvement. And I am also right with you because you're probably thinking this as well. Whenever I heard the idea of a self-improvement book, I was like, fuck that. Um, and I over the course of my life, I've had a relatively easy life, not like given to me or anything. Like I don't live in a nice house or anything. I don't live in a gated community. I actually live in the middle of the ghetto. Not ghetto, but upper middle class neighborhood. Um, and as far as like money struggles, there's not really been a whole lot. And so I've and I've always made good money. And I with my parents, they raised me up pretty good as far as saving money and emergency funds and just being smart with your money in general. And so in those two aspects, I've had a pretty laid back life. As far as dating and everything, I earlier on in my life, like prior to like I don't know 17, 18, dating's always been relatively easy for me. I never really had a problem getting women um, or keeping them, as a matter of fact. And the majority of my relationships prior to um, there we go. Prior to one of the ones I'll talk about today, which is the most prevalent one, I suppose. Um, I never really had issues with that, and then in my recent years, between the ages of 18 to 21, um, I struggled with relationships so much. Um, you know, uh, Maybe not necessarily getting them, but keeping them and being able to recognize red flags and having uh, relationships where they would literally just betatize me through, just from the beginning. And I'll get to why that happened in a second because it's, kind of a snowball effect. Um, so anyway, here we go. So, um, prior to being about 18 years old, I, had girlfriends in and out of high school. I had relationships that were, year and a half, 2 years. I had multiple of them. I think my body count around or prior to 18 years old was probably like 7 or 8. Um, we're not gonna go through the names and shit, but you'll just have to take my word for it. Um, but yeah, as far as that goes, I was able to sleep around and kind of have fun and everything. And I was in a relationship with this one girl. It was the longest relationship I ever had. And it was just going on 2 years, and we were together from uh, the time of me turning 18 up until I turned 20. uh, and it was a good run. And there's a couple of keywords here that I'm going to talk about, um, and I'm actually going to note them down here while I'm at it. Let me pull up a Google Doc here. I just want to be able to lay these out so I have a good idea as to what we're talking about here. So I can kind of like keep my mind focused because I tend to trail off. So uh, I don't know if it's spelled like that. Yeah, it is spelled like that. So I'm gonna talk about oneitis. We're gonna talk about SMV, sexual market value, aka body count. Well, I guess not even body count. We'll say scaling from 1 to 10. So I was with this girl, and we had a lot of shit in common. We had the same truck in high school. We had the same classes. We had the same interests. We had the same dirt bike, like same make, model, year. Same thing for the trucks. We both had Pontiac cars. We both had Dodge Dakotas. We both had Honda dirt bikes. We had so much in common that even back to before we were even in high school, we were on the same acne medication. And there were a lot of things, I really cared about her, and I guess I still love her. Um, and we'll get into that here momentarily. But as far as her and I, we got along really well. If I had to rate her from 1 to 10, I would say she was like a 7 or 8, which I'm happy with. I find the women that are like tens and more, they're really really high maintenance, and that's not really my thing. Um, I am not really one to be, you know, buying all this luxurious shit um, for a woman. That's just kind of my take on things. But um, with her, we were together for about 2 years, and we had a really happy relationship. I didn't really have any complaints. The downfall, and this is kind of where the snowball effect started, um, was the downfall is I like always made a pretty significant, well, I still make a really significant amount of money. Um, and when her and I were together, I probably made like, I don't know, probably $50,000 a year more than her. Um, just because my line of work is more blue collar, and I suppose hers was too, but it was in a field that didn't get paid as much as my field or trade or whatever the fuck you want to call it does. Um, as well as that, like as well as the whole hours thing. Like I have an on-call schedule. Um, I travel for work. I go out of state. There's a lot of shit that I do that all kind of ends up uh, where I get paid more. Plus my hourly wage is like significantly more than what she made. So I was always kind of like the provider, and I really did care about her. We had this, and it was just kind of something that I came up with. I said, "Hey, let's start going to dinner every Friday because I like getting out, and after work we can go out and have fun, whatever, have dinner at a nice place." And we just kind of did that. So every Friday we'd get off work and I'd go pick her up, and we had a really good relationship with each other. She had a good relationship with my family. I had a good relationship with her family. Everything was about as good as it could be. Um, the downfall started. She had gotten a new job, and it was a male-oriented um, workplace, and because it was a male-dominated industry, or it is a male-dominated industry. And she always had a lot of the same interests as I did because she was more raised by her dad, and so she wasn't like a tomboy or anything, but she was um, very into the blue collar life, and that's kind of what her dream job was. So when she finally got it, when you have a woman in a male dominated industry, it definitely causes some ego adjustment, which I wasn't really having. I don't know. I kind of was like whatever. But it got to the point where I'd work 10, 12 hour day. And I would be doing shit as far as like, I don't know if you guys know what a muck out is, but a muck out is essentially when a sewage line bursts in a crawl space, you have to go through and pick up raw sewage, load it into bags, and then take them out one by one. And you have suits obviously, but the respirators, then you can't hear each other, like you can't hear your crew. Um, and so we like wouldn't wear respirators, and then the safety glasses would fog up because we had masks on, and all this shit. And so it was just kind of a miserable thing. You'd end up getting human fecal matter all over you in the process of doing this. And you're probably thinking, yeah, that's fucking disgusting. And yes, it is, but I make a lot of money doing it, so who gives a fuck? So my primary dream is to be able to retire my parents, um, and make a life for myself where when I inevitably eventually have a family and kids, they don't ever need to worry about where the next meal is going to come from or if they're not going to have a roof over their head one day. Um, and there's its own set of problems with that whole theory, and not gift, but um, this that whole goal in life. uh, People tend to look at that and look at you as a provider, and if they don't want to do anything in their life and they see that you want that, they tend to take advantage of that. um, so anyway, going back to the relationship, she had gotten that job in very male dominated industry, and her ego grew, and I guess rightfully so. She did a good job, she earned her place there, um, and that's fantastic. However, I would get done working a fucking 12-hour day, like I said, shoveling shit, human shit and piss into trash bags, and hauling them out, and all this stuff. And then I would come home and she would say something like, I had a shitty day at work, and you wouldn't survive a day in my job. And my response to that was, um, you work in a heated and cooled shop, and work 9 to 5. So I don't know how I couldn't survive a day in your job, but okay. And essentially I let that bother me way too much, and even though that was starting to become a problem, I had been so like comfortable with her that I didn't want to like stir up any problems. And so I just kind of like stewed on it. And then we ended up going to this function for my work. It was a company Christmas party, and she ended up kind of making a big scene there. Not to like not like fighting with anybody, but essentially she had a tantrum there, and it was embarrassing as fuck. And this was almost on the 2-year mark, and I figured that we had gotten past that, or that I could get past it, but it just, I don't know. I take a lot of value in my work, and so when she kind of did that, I got all butt hurt, and so I ended up, and this is the shitty thing, and this is something that I just have to live with because I can't change the past. Um, Unfortunately, because if I could, I would absolutely not do this, but I have taken it as a learning lesson because that's all that I can do. Um, with with her, I ended up buying her this promise ring and giving it to her, and then about a month later she had went out of town. I'd gotten drunk at a buddy's house, and this girl was there, and I ended up going into the bedroom with her, and well, you can imagine what I did. So that was definitely not the correct uh, action or response to me being upset with her. And it wasn't justified whatsoever in any way, shape, or form. So essentially, what I'm getting at is I cheated on her, and I didn't hide it from her at all. When she got back into town, I went over to her house and I said, "Hey, we need to talk." So I sat her down and I said, "Hey, I understand if you get mad and slap me or whatever you decide to do throughout this conversation. I'll sit here and accept it because I'm, ashamed of myself. Um, but you went out of town, and I haven't been happy for like a minute. just the shit that's been going on with your work and what happened at the Christmas party and all this shit. And I ended up getting drunk and I slept with another girl. Um, and so I don't expect you to forgive me, and I don't expect you to stay. And if you want to leave right now, everything that you bought me for, I did this on uh, New Year's Eve. Um, and this is a really terrible story that I to this day am ashamed of. I was sitting out in my truck, um, and she was in Seattle. And I was on the phone with her, and I told her I loved her. Um, and we were on the phone when New Year's hit, and I had, you know, one second. Sorry about that. My dad came in to make sure I was still alive because I don't know. I think I said at the beginning of the video I went out to the bar with my friends last night and got good and hammered and then had to work this morning. Priorities, people, priorities. Anyway, so I had told her that I loved her, and not 5 minutes later, I walked back in the house, and had another girl's clothes off, and I just awful, just absolutely awful. It wasn't worth it whatsoever. Um, and I ended up trying to date this girl, which was also my coworker's ex-girlfriend. So you can imagine how that went. Not well. Um, so yeah, if you take anything from my stupidity, don't shit where you eat if you can help it, because it really it makes your fucking world miserable, both outside of work and at work when you do shit like that. So that's not a good thing to do. Um, Essentially, she broke up with me, and we were pretty mutual about it. Um, because I told her, I'm not really happy anymore. Um, and so, and she said, well, I can't stay with you. So, um, we ended up parting ways, and everything was fine. She gave me my stuff, I gave her hers. Um, and I still talk to her every so often, and I remember, and this is how I this is th- this was my time of me knowing that I wasn't shit. This is when I figured this out. I was laying in bed. This was like 4 or 5 nights later, and she had called me on my phone, and I answered, and I was like, "Hey, what do you need?" And that girl that I cheated on her with was laying in my bed next to me. Um, and the girl that I cheated on when I was in the relationship with, she calls me, and she was just so fucking hammered. She could barely form a sentence. Um, and she called me, and all she could ask me was why. Why would you do that? How could you do that? And I remember, listening to that phone call, and just looking over at the girl next to me, and I was like, holy shit, I'm a fucking pile, dude. And I swore to never do that again. And I'll let you know about how far that got. So, and and this next one was deserved, and it's the only other time I've done it. Um, so essentially, early, so we were still able to like talk and get along and whatever. So went to, um, I went to a bonfire one night with a girl I was dating after, and I got a text on my phone, and it said something along the lines of, "Fuck you, Andrew. I never want to talk to you again." And I tried to call her and text her, and I was already blocked by then. So I was trying to figure out what had happened, and I had a feeling that the dude that I worked with had told her something that set her off, because it was so out of the blue, and I was exactly right. Like early on into the relationship, I had just turned 18, and so I ended up going to the strip club with my uh, before then friends, um, but active coworkers, and because we all went to school together, and we were trying to, and this is a genuine thing, we were trying to find a place to play pool. And where I live, there's not many places you can play pool that isn't a bar, so we weren't allowed in like the majority of the places. And the places that were there were like 5 pool tables, and they were full, and there were lines, and it just wasn't our thing. And so I was like, well, we go to, this one place, and they're like, no, I got a place better. I was like, well, what is it? And he says, well, let's go to the strip club. And he named a strip club that was, like 15 minutes away from my house. So I ended up heading over heading over that direction. I met them there, and I was like, all right, we're just here to play pool. So we played a couple of games of pool, and they were kind of egging me on. And we're like, hey, we're not gonna tell her if you fucking go in there. And I said, okay, well, maybe I guess I'll go in there, but no lap dances. So I went in there, and some dude bought me a lap dance because it was my first time going in there. So he bought me like a lap dance, and then after that, another dude came over, and he was like, "Hey, I'll pay for your I'll pay for a couple of your private dances." And I was like, "No, no, 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 no." And he said, "Oh, well, yes, yeah." And I said, "Okay." So I ended up getting a private dance from a girl there, just one, um, and ended up promptly leaving after that. And that was kind of it. And I thought that was the end of it. We just kind of swore to not talk about it ever again. But uh, anyway, because he was mad at me that I slept with his ex girlfriend, my coworker was mad that I slept with his ex girlfriend. He told my ex girlfriend about that, and that put the kibosh on any friendship that we had. And I believe to this day that she's still really, really bitter, which I don't blame her. But the reason that it was the deal breaker, because she told me that the one thing that I could never do would be to go to the strip club, and or she would leave me. And I did the one thing she told me not to do, and so she left me. Shocker. Um, so moving forward, um, the girl that I had been dating after her, we didn't work out because she was a psychopath, and she had I don't like she wasn't allowed around shoelaces and stuff like that. Like her parents, she had went to a mental hospital and all this shit, so she was just batshit crazy. But I chose to ignore all that because I was fucking stupid. Um, so anyway, we don't work out. Uh, my ex-girlfriend is now, hates my guts and won't speak to me and blocked me on everything. And this other girl is just the biggest waste of life there ever was. And so I'm like, all right, well, man, I really regret that and miss this. And this is where this term comes up called one-itis. And one-itis is something that both genders feel towards one another. However, it is much more like stronger. Like the feeling is more prominent. The feeling is stronger in males when they, this one girl that the one that got away. It's essentially that. Um, but the feeling of loneliness and not being able to move forward and not being able to let go of the memories and not being able to go a day without thinking about her name, that is the type of one-itis that men have, whereas women don't have that. They have that, but not nearly to that extent where it physically uh, paralyzes you from actually doing anything, because it puts you in borderline depression. And I felt that for the longest time, and it was my own fault. This isn't like a sob story or anything, but it was my own fault. Um, so anyway, what started this downhill spiral and snowball effect is a combination of one-itis, and my regret had left me to tell myself that I will never treat a woman so ill or poor again. And I didn't. By God, I did not. as a matter of fact, every girl that I got with after that, I had treated better than any woman I had been with prior. Paychecks were getting spent left and right. Steak dinners, nice car. Oh, you want me to get, this fucking thing for my truck because you like it? Okay. Oh, you want me to get a Corvette? Okay. I went and bought a Corvette. Like that type of shit. That type of shit is what I did just because I could. Um, and it's not like I was like going backwards, like in debt up to my fucking eyebrows because just to please a woman. Like this was shit that I don't know, like with the whole Corvette thing. She had said that her ex-boyfriend's like dream car was a Corvette, a C5 Corvette, um, Z06, and I fucking went out and bought one in cash the day after she told me that. Um, and just because I could, like that's literally how my life worked. And in retrospect, I'm a fucking idiot for doing that. But the one thing that had in common is since I started treating women so well, I had gotten used as an ATM, a fucking emotional punching bag, all this shit, and I never understood why. I continued every day to ask myself why is it that I'm so nice to women now, but they just, you know, they're not here to stay around. They use me. They do this and that and this and that, and it I come to find out after reading this book, you know, the there's a reason that nice guys always finish last. And I'll touch on another topic really quick before I move on with the nice guy thing. But women, statistically speaking, women typically make a judgment call about you within the first 7 to 11 seconds of meeting you. So, um, if you're fat and are balding and are short and you have no confidence and you stink because your fucking uh, hygiene is so poor, um, it doesn't matter how nice of a guy you are. Like it just doesn't. Rich Cooper says in the Unplugged Alpha, one of the quotes out of that, or one of the lines out of that book is, "If you're broke, fix it. If you're fat, fix it. If you don't understand game, learn it." And that is very, very true because, and that directly correlates with this whole idea that the nice guys finish last, because like I said, physically you need to have something to offer. Like women don't typically sleep with dudes that are like ugly as fuck and fat and broke and live with their fucking grandmother in their basement and play video games all day. Like that's not the type of man that a woman wants, if you can even consider them a man. um they want a Chad Thundercock. Like they literally want the best possible option, and that's who they will sleep with. And that's why all these nice guys will be going out on dates with women, 6, 7, 8 dates, and they maybe got a kiss. But these women are like, well, I just have a rule for myself. I won't sleep with a guy unless he's taken me out on 8 dates. So here you go. Here's your 8 dates. Can you sleep with me now? And then they can just be like, no, I'm not interested anymore. And then you just spend all that time and effort and whatever. Well, like other dude could literally have her pants off in 15 minutes of meeting her. Um, and she would break every rule in the book. And the reason for that is because women make rules for betas and break rules for alphas, or break rules for alphas and make rules for betas. I guess would be the correct direction of that. But um, yeah, essentially, like it doesn't matter how fucking nice you are. Um, and that's something that I had to learn because I was just being super nice to everybody, and all these women and doing everything that they asked, and the whole happy wife, happy life, and that fucked me so bad. That's the biggest load of horse shit I've ever heard before. In retrospect, now that I've read the Unplugged Alpha, um, because over since that whole situation with the one-itis, I pretty much betatized myself. And all the women that I was with, I never had a problem pulling attractive girls, um, but I did have a problem staying happy while I was with them. Excuse me. Um, so all these women I would just fall head over heels for and be so nice to him and take him out to dinner and do everything they asked, and I would end up getting cheated on and used as an ATM, used as an emotional punching bag and all this shit. And um I finally figured out why, and it's because women don't respect a beta male. They don't. Um, going back to the caveman days, a woman looks for, and this isn't something that's like a foil hat theory. This is literally evolution. This is how women are designed and encoded when they are born. It is genetically embedded in their DNA to find the best option that she can that will be her protector, her provider. Um, and once women find that, they will literally do anything to keep that. Which is why, women will find these fucking douchebags, like dudes named Chad that have their fucking hat on sideways and whatever, and they're 6'2", and they're, dumb as a fucking rock, but they're big and muscular and they can fight because they're in prison. And, you have all this shit, and these women are just falling for these guys that literally have nothing going for them. But then, the well-dressed, 5'6" man in the suit, continues to fall short even though he's got millions of dollars and a successful business and all that, purely because he doesn't have any fucking confidence, and he like just doesn't have like uh, anything. And that's not to say that as far as what women look for, um you don't have to be 6'5" to pull. I am 5'9" and like 160. I'm not like fat, but I'm not skinny. I consider myself to be a relatively good-looking dude. Um, I've never had problems, pulling women. I've only really ever had a problem with my self-confidence, and my insecurities. Women can smell insecurities from a mile away. And so if you come to them and you follow what the feminists say, oh, we want a dude that's open and a dude that can show his feelings. No, they don't. No, they don't. And don't ever make the mistake of doing that, because literally every time you complain to them about, oh, this dude said this to me and it really hurt my feelings, and they're sitting there and they're like, oh, I'm sorry, honey. That's terrible. Well, I'm so glad you told me. She just lost like 15% of respect, for you, because women one don't give a fuck, and if you force them to hear it, they'll lose respect for you anyway. But like that's the whole thing. But in the ways, I guess my actual testimony would be this. My After reading this book, I realized that the you can't be Mr. Nice Guy anymore. It doesn't get you anywhere. It doesn't matter um how nice you are. You need to be the badass, and this is coming from a dude that's 5'9" and 160. Like I'd probably get my ass stomped by a fucking 6'3" dude. I've been in like four fights in the past, that all of them being bigger than me. um and I've never lost one. And but it's the from being a dude that's like average height or short, I guess, because I don't know. I don't even know. The average in the U.S. is like 5'9" or 5'8" and a half. So my insecurities, um, you walk into a room and everybody's taller than you, and you're immediately like, oh fuck. And it's just something that like you have to beat out of yourself. Like you have to train yourself to not give a fuck. And for the people that are like, well, he's bigger than me, so he's, or like, if he's taller than me, so he could beat my. That is not the truth whatsoever. I can tell you that from firsthand experience. That's not true. And I can also tell you that weight is a much more helping factor to winning a fight than height is. Like I like take some dude that's like 6 foot versus a kid that's like 5'7", but the 6 foot dude like is 120 pounds, and the 5'7" dude is like muscular, beefy, bulky, and weighs like 180. And not to say that he's fat, but most of that weight is in muscle. um, yeah, there's no like real advantage that the tall dude has. Like it's all in weight, technique, and uh, just that walking into a room and being surrounded by tall people. I totally understand how that can like be like, oh shit, this is scary. Like who the fuck cares? And that's the other thing is if you do end up walking into a room with a bunch of tall dudes that you feel like can beat their ass and you worry about it, women can smell that worry. They can smell that fear. They can smell that insecurity. And again, they lose respect for you. And then that turns into the conversation of, I love you, but I'm not in love with you, and I have been fucking Jaquavius. So that's something that's very important here. Confidence is everything. And confidence comes in so many different forms. One of the ways that I found it is like my I don't know. This is one of the things that I read on a lot of Reddit forums. I'm on Reddit a lot. And something that a lot of people are like insecure about is their dick size. I used to be really insecure about it, but like the average is like 5.5 in America, and now I have to say I'm quite lucky, not because it's 9 inches, because it's not, but because my mom is 4'11" and Filipino, and genetically and statistically proven the average uh size for a Filipino man is like 3 inches. And my dad is 5'5" and white, and I don't know what his is, but I am probably gonna guess that it's you know in similar taste. Wrong choice of words there. I'm sorry. Anyway, yeah, like I don't know. I fucking like most dudes are at like 5.5, 6 inches, and if you're at that, you're fine. Like it doesn't matter. I've slept with 18 women. There's no. I've never been told I'm bad in bed. Like even after I've never been told that, and it's, I don't really get any complaints about it. Even before where I was like, hey, I don't know how to say this, but my dick's kind of small, and they would like, we'd get down to doing the dirty, and they're like, I don't know what your fucking problem is, and I'm like, what are you talking about? She was like, well, you think that it's small, but it's like literally not. Um, and she was like, and even if like it wasn't pleasurable, you made me come before you even put it in me. And so there's a lot of other ways that you can please women besides dick, because most women can't even like generally come from sex. And if they are like consistently doing it, and they're probably lying to you, is my assumption. Um, so like I usually like do it with my hands to start off with. And that's something that you have to like learn. I can confidently say that I'm good at it because I've done it with 18 different women. So and different types of women. So it's as far as like finding it, you know, um, that's pretty easy because I've done it so many goddamn times. I don't even uh, struggle with it anymore. It's the same thing with like taking off a bra. I've done that so many fucking times, like with us like hugging, and I'll just like run my hand up her back and take her bra off in like half a second. Um, and she's like, I don't think like anybody has ever taken a like I can't even take my bra off that fast. Like when she says shit like that to you, I just kind of look and smirk. I'm like, yeah. And by the way, that kind of increases your sexual market value, your SMV, um, because it's kind of the um, it kind of distinguishes that you've been with a few women because there's probably a pretty good chance you're not practicing this on your mom or sister. Um, but uh, yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things where there's little slutty things that you can do that women actually find really attractive. And speaking of slut, let's talk about the word whore really quick. Um, whore is and I'm trying to remember Myron, I think is his name. He kind of does like Charlie Kirk type videos where he goes on college campuses and then like dogs on people or dogs on like girls. And he doesn't dog on them. He just like says the shit that like the majority of the population's afraid to say because they don't want to get canceled. But the name of his show is Uncensored America, so like he really doesn't. I've literally watched videos of him telling women to make them a sandwich like right on a college campus in front of people over a microphone. So, but anyway, one of the things that he says is that the word whore, like there's a reason that there's whore and then man whore. Like typically you don't, as a female, you would never like call a dude a whore. You'd call him a man whore and vice versa. But the reason that there's man in front of whore and instead of like woman whore, like the reason that term doesn't exist is because whore and like that's like a primarily woman thing. And the reason for that is because a dude that this is the thing is women are picky and rightfully so. They don't want to sleep with a dude that is like fucking fat and whatever. And so women actually have to bring or men actually have to bring something to the table in order for them to like for to get the girl to sleep with them. So if they can't bring anything to the table, 9 times out of 10 they're not going to get slept with. So a dude with what the uh, opposite of that, or the vice versa, I guess, would be you look at a fucking beta male that is so fucking desperate he'll literally sleep with a fucking anything. Like these dudes are out here like yeah, she doesn't need teeth. Um, she's missing a leg. That's okay. Like these dudes have such low fucking standards because they're so desperate. Um, and so they'll sleep with about anything. So that like women need to have a valuable man to sleep with them, whereas men don't need a valuable woman for them to sleep with them. Like that's not like a factor. Um, which is why you'll hear a lot of dudes say if she ain't 280, she ain't a lady, and that's uh, essentially because they like don't want to work on themselves, so they just settle for less. Um, which is really fucking sad. But yeah, with where was I going with that? With what he says, it's kind of like a God, my chickens are really being noisy out there. Um, but yeah, like um, what he says about the whole like horror thing, a dude that sleeps with a bunch of girls and can sleep with a bunch of girls successfully, that means that he has value, which the value is what attracts women. And so, well, value and confidence and a few other things, but that's why you don't really call a man a whore, you call him a man whore. And that's just that usually the women that say that are women that are um it's called an alpha widow. But they like get rejected by these like high value men and they feel like they can't find anything else, and so they literally like start hating because of that, and that's called an alpha widow. So yeah, typically if you look at a woman and she's like, no, he's such a man whore, he's disgusting, it's because she tried to sleep with him, and he has a much higher sexual market value than her, and he rejected her, and now she's like, oh my god, this is I hate him because he rejected me, and it's not that there's any actual hatred, it's just she's jealous that she didn't get to sleep with him. So as far as like how the book has helped me in particular, just the whole confidence thing. One of the things like dressing, um, I I don't know. I feel like I dressed pretty decently. It was very laid back. Like I didn't ever really dress formal. Like I wear fucking cowboy boots and jeans and a sweatshirt like 90% of the time, um, and a hat. But um, I was never really into like I would just go out and buy Wranglers or whatever because they were cheap and they look good. But as you know, as my reading and learning evolved, I realized that I could find other jeans that are probably going to be more expensive, but they look better and they help my confidence, my self-esteem. So I started going out and like buying clothes that actually fit. So like when I go to buy a shirt now, I always look for like a fitted shirt, or maybe one that's like a size smaller than what I would typically wear. Um, And I wear a lot of black shirts too because I'm white. If you can't tell by my voice, and you don't hear a smoke detector beeping in the background, but um, that was probably not as funny as I wanted it to be. But the thing about black shirts that you'll learn is wearing a black shirt gives the illusion that your arms are bigger, especially when the shirt is a little bit tighter on you, around your arms and around your chest. Um, so that's a really good thing that helped me. The shorts that I would always wear, I was a big basketball short guy. Um, and just because they were comfortable, easy to put on, you put a sweatshirt on and whatever, and it would look fine. And it was just that's what I like to wear, and it was usually the same pair. So I ended up going out and I spent I think it was like $30. I went to like a sporting goods store and I just found this pair of athletic shorts that are like what I would consider like gay. Like whenever you see like a frat boy and he's got like these shorts that are like really fucking short, that it almost makes you like uncomfortable. Um, I would always like judge those dudes and be like, yeah, that looks extra gay. But come to find out, the only thing that's worse than that is wearing shorts that are so long they look you know, like they hang below your knees, and that doesn't look good either. And I don't know why. I was always like self-conscious about my knees, so I like bought shorts like that on purpose. But then I just like stopped giving a fuck. Um, and so like the shorts that I wear now are like pretty high. But the black shorts also give the illusion that your legs are bigger. So if you do that and like with a black shirt, that's a little too small, um, that's makes you feel better. Got a new pair of shoes. That was something I'd always wear like Hey Dudes. And not that these shoes are nice or anything, because I wear Vans now. Um, but Hey Dudes are like significantly more expensive than slip-on Vans. And the slip-on Vans aren't nearly as comfortable, but I just buy them because they're easy to beat on and they look nice. And I always get them in. I always get them in white. Um, but yeah, I mean that's just kind of how it is. That helped out with my confidence a lot, and I could tell. That was the other thing is like I don't have like a beard or anything. I've got kind of like a dirt stat. Well, it's a little thicker than a dirt stash. And I've got like some uh like facial hair on my chin, um, but nothing on like my neck or my cheeks or anything like that. And so I kind of always like let it just grow out, which come to find out, women like a dude with a mustache. Most women. Um, and so what I ended up doing was shaving what was on my chin, and then just having the mustache, and that like really improved my appearance in my way. And I actually had a compliment about it at one of the last concerts I went to. This was the first time I kind of went out in public ever since I started like working on myself. And this is the first time I actually like went out to a public event. We were sitting there at this concert, and the concert was about over. And this really cute blonde girl come up to me, and she was like, "Hey," and I said, "Hey." And initially, I thought she was my ex because it was dark and I was drunk. And I was like, "Oh, this is not gonna end well." And she come up, she's like, "Hey, what's I saw you from back there," and I was like, "Oh, really?" And she was like, "Yeah, I really thought you were cute, and I just came over here to ask for your number." And I was like, "Oh, well, that's cool. Um, sure." And so I told her, "Give me your phone." And as I was putting my Snapchat into her phone, um, she was like, "I really like your mustache, by the way." And I was like, "Oh, thank you." And so it was like little shit like that where I'm like, "That's cool. I'm glad that I'm not the only one that notices that." But another thing that like helped me is Rich Cooper talks a lot about like fixing your posture because that like not only does it is it like better for you, but it makes you look more confident and it also corrects your height. So you can be 5'9", but actually like because you slouch and have such a horrible posture, you can be like 5'7" or 5'8" or whatever. And so just the fact that I was able to correct my posture and just fix a couple of things, features wise that, like uh, shaving, better, as well as buying some better fitting clothes and just the way that I carried myself, it really improved my confidence a lot. And that was really the majority of what I needed. Um, but as well as like understanding how women work. That was another thing that I never understood. It's called a shit test. But you remember back in the day when you'd go to your mom or your grandma and be like, well, this, you were like, I don't know, 10 years old, and you're like, well, this girl's really mean to me, mom. And she would say, well, that's because she likes you. And like logically, you're like, well, that doesn't make any fucking sense. But it's the truth. And let me explain to you why. A shit test is it can be done consciously, but not typically. Um, subconscious, it is a subconscious like poke that women do to test your like if this dude's like full of shit. So like because you can fake confidence. And so the shit tests are something like when a woman's really, really interested in you, sometimes the shit'll just come out to test your like trying to think of what the word is. Like just pretty much test to see if you're full of shit. And if you pass those shit tests, then they stay with you, and if they don't, then they if you don't, then they don't. So like an example of that would be like I've slept with girls that are taller. Like the tallest girl I've ever slept with was like 6'1", and again I'm 5'9", and this girl like um we I remember one night like she really liked me, it seemed like, and I was like waiting for a shit test. um and we were laying in bed. I just got done giving her the business. um and we're laying there in bed, and I don't even remember how the conversation came up, but she said something about I'm taller than you. Like, I don't know why that applies. And I just looked at her, and without even thinking, I was like, and you're shorter than me bent over. And she just laughed, and I was like, shit, test passed. Like, that's exactly what you want to do. Because if you go, like, well, I'm actually average height, like, I don't think there's anything. Do you think there's anything wrong with my height? Like, women are like, holy fucking gay, And so, that's like the difference between passing and failing a shit test. And just because you fail one shit test doesn't mean that a woman's going to leave you, but if you keep failing them over and over and over, every time you fail one, a woman loses more respect for you. And again, that circles back around to the after you've lost their respect, they turn into you end up having that conversation of I love you, I'm just not in love with you, and Jaquavius is coming to pick me up. So that's kind of where that's kind of what the shit tests do. And so I had to learn that. And it's funny because when I initially heard about that, I was like, that's not real. And then I started to understand that in my parents' marriage and recognize when my mom was shit testing my dad, because it doesn't just stop. Like that shit happens all the fucking time. And so we'll be sitting out at dinner, and my mom will shit test my dad and just bring up something about like, are you sure you know how to like fix the toilet? And he'll be like, yeah, I was a fucking plumber. Yes, I can fix a toilet. Um, and she'd be like, oh, okay. And it doesn't like embarrass her that she asked like a dumb question or anything. Like it's literally subconscious. And so that's the thing is you got to be quick to respond to the shit tests because, like I said, they're subconscious. And so, if you wait more than like a couple of seconds, that thought's already gone and out of the way. So they don't understand, or like if you like try and go back to it later and you're like, hey, do you remember earlier when you said that I was short? I'm not actually short. You're shorter than me bent over. Like if it doesn't come out of your mouth right then and there, it's not the same. Like the effect is not the same. But anyway, besides that, we've talked about the one-itis. We've talked about the um we've talked about the sexual market value. We've talked about the confidence, the dressing better, acting better, good hygiene, making the best version of yourself, whether that's eating better, going to the gym, working out, whatever the case may be. Um, the We'll talk about frame for a second. So frame is another thing that he creates. Now the thing as a male, and this is how you stay happy in the relationship, because you can get into a relationship just fine, but whether or not you're happy is a totally different conversation. So, as far as frame goes, every woman, is like this is like a shit test in itself. Oh, excuse me. A woman will. you know, say, well, you need to do this for me and you need to do that for me. And like, you're just gonna look at her and be like, no, I'm doing this like my way. Like, I am gonna go to the bar. Like, I am gonna go out with my friends. And you kind of word it that way with the I am going to do this, no questions asked, period. And what that is, first of all, is that's you know managing your frame. Like your frame is, hey, I'm gonna work on the weekend or on the weekdays, and then on the weekends, Friday night I'm gonna go work out, or Friday night I'm gonna go downtown with the boys. Saturday night I'm gonna stay in and uh watch a movie or whatever, and you just kind of like create your frame and you make it apparent to her, because as soon as she's like, well, I don't like that place, let's go here, and then you give in, and then pretty soon she's like, honey, will you put the dishes away? And you're like, ah, fine. And then that evolves to, why didn't you put the whites with the whites when we were doing the laundry, and the darks and the whatever and the coloreds and whatever. And so you end up having this conversation that eventually spirals into, and it is literally the process of betatization. Um, but yeah, you that's like the happy wife, happy life thing. And so you're stepping out of your frame, which women don't respect. Women want a guy that's they can follow, even though they don't claim that. That's not the truth. Like I think women, like I've heard this from my cousin who's she has two kids with two different dads, and she dates quite a bit. And she's like, well, I, ugh. Or I was talking to her about this here like 2, 3 weeks ago. Um, I said, she was like, you need to like be a nice guy to these girls, and I was like, okay, if a dude like picked you up and bought you flowers on the first date, and then he was like, okay, would you like to go get ice cream and do this and that and this and that, and would you like me to rub your feet, like, oh, is your back hurt, I'll give you a back massage. Like, women find that so fucking icky. Like, don't be that dude, because it's first of all, it's gay. And second of all, like, just don't do that. Women don't find that attractive. um like, sometimes women want a dude that's gonna just like look him in the face and tell him to like shut the fuck up and make him a sandwich. Like, don't do that. Like, don't be like a misogynist piece of shit, but like, you like create your frame and stay in it. Don't change yourself for her, because she's just gonna end up taking advantage of that. Not because women are bad, but that's just what they're programmed to do. So, um, anyway, yeah, that's kind of where we're at. You just create your frame, and women will literally move mountains to be with someone she has genuine burning desire for. Now, and I'm trying to remember the quote off the top of my head, and it's probably not going to be 100% accurate, but um, genuine burning desire is not manufactured or negotiated. It is something completely natural, um, that or organic, that happens when a female has found what she sees to be like the top dog, like high sexual market value, good priorities, good frame, good looking, good with financial or good financial circumstances, nice cars, whatever. And she finds this dude, and he's confident in everything. She finds this dude, and she says, well, I really like this guy, and she will literally move mountains for that guy. But it doesn't go the opposite way. You gotta, as a male, you have to keep your frame, otherwise you're just kind of fucked, and that starts the process of the betatization. But anyway, yeah, I mean, that was kind of the first part of my testimony. I've been doing this for like an hour and a half now, or almost an hour and a half. So I'm gonna hop off for a while, and then maybe later tonight, if I'm not asleep or drunk again, I will um, I'll end up doing another one, and we'll touch on some more points here. But this is more of a test, just to see like kind of how people feel about this, if it gets any views, et cetera, et cetera. So anyway, you guys have a good night or good day. It's like 2:30 right now, so yeah, you guys have a good rest of your day. If I end up doing this again later, feel free to join in. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments too. Um, I'd be happy to answer them. So, and then also I think I'm gonna end up creating a Discord maybe, for this, just so like if people like want to talk and ask for advice or whatever, um, like feel free. You can get in the waiting room and we can talk live or whatever. I have no problem with that at all. So yeah, yeah, feel free to leave any comments. Goodbye, everybody. I didn't have very many views that video, but anyway, yeah, I'll talk to you guys later.